The haunted hospital of Ja Lat, Vietnam's most terrifying abandoned place. In the heart of Vietnam, nestled deep within the misty rolling hills of Ja Lat, there stands a derelict, abandoned hospital. This is a place so profoundly quiet, so utterly still, that even the wind itself seems afraid to whisper among its decaying walls. The air is thick with a silence that is not empty, but heavy with the weight of forgotten stories and lingering sorrows. Locals speak of it in hushed tones, sharing tales passed down through generations. They say it was once a military hospital, a bustling center of healing and desperation during the tumultuous French colonial era. But long after the last soldier departed and the cannons fell silent, something dark, something ancient and sorrowful, stayed behind. It is a presence that refuses to leave, forever bound to the crumbling structure. The hospital was first constructed in the 1940s, a stark, imposing building designed with French architectural precision, yet destined for a grim purpose. It was a place of last resort for thousands of soldiers, a sanctuary from the horrors of the battlefield where they were brought for treatment. For many of them, however, it was the final place they would ever see. Its wards witnessed countless moments of pain, hope, and ultimate despair. Within these walls, lives were saved, but far more were lost, and the echoes of those final moments seem to have seeped into the very foundation of the building. During the chaotic final years of the war, the region was plunged into darkness as the power went out for weeks on end. The hospital, once a beacon of modern medicine, descended into a primitive state. The long, sterile rooms turned frigid and damp, the once pristine white walls began to peel and rot, and a pervasive metallic smell of blood and antiseptic seemed to cling to the air, refusing to dissipate. After the monumental events of 1975, the hospital was officially shut down. Its purpose served, its time concluded. It was abandoned to the elements, and for decades, no one dared to touch it, as if a collective, unspoken agreement was made to let it rest. But while the building was left to decay in peace, the stories, the chilling, inexplicable stories, were just beginning to spread like wildfire through the local community. In the year 2006, as is often the case with such legendary places, a group of curious and thrill-seeking university students decided to test the legends for themselves. They entered the hospital under the cloak of night, their youthful bravado masking a nervous excitement, filming their adventure for fun, like teenagers always do, drawn to the allure of the forbidden and the unknown. Their laughter and chatter echoed unnervingly through the silent, cavernous halls as they explored the decaying wards, their flashlight beams cutting through the oppressive darkness. It was on their camera, as they reviewed the footage later, that they captured something deeply strange and unsettling. The grainy video showed a heavy, antiquated hospital bed, resting in the middle of a long corridor, begin to roll slowly across the hall, with absolutely no one pushing it. A cold dread washed over them as they watched the silent, impossible movement on the small screen. Panicked, they fled, their hearts pounding in their chests as they scrambled down a grand, crumbling staircase. In the chaos of their escape, one of them, a young woman, instinctively looked back up towards the second floor. It was then that she saw it, a distinct, shadowy figure standing motionless at one of the high, arched windows. The silhouette was unmistakable. It wore what looked like an old-fashioned nurse's uniform, its form stark against the pale moonlight. The next morning, driven by a mixture of fear and a desperate need for a rational explanation, the students cautiously returned to the hospital in the revealing light of day. They made their way back to the exact spot from where they had fled, their eyes fixed on the window where the apparition had appeared. What they discovered sent a fresh wave of ice through their veins. The window, the very one where they had seen the spectral nurse standing just hours before, was sealed shut from the inside, covered with thick wooden planks that were nailed firmly into the frame, coated in decades of dust and cobwebs. There was no possible way anyone could have stood there. The local legends surrounding the hospital are as numerous as they are terrifying. It is said that if you are brave or foolish enough to approach the building at the stroke of midnight, you can still hear the faint, ghostly sounds of its past. The sharp metallic clinking of surgical tools on a metal tray, the soft rhythmic squeak of gurney wheels, and most disturbingly, the sound of a woman crying softly, her sobs seeming to emanate from the old operating room, a place of immense suffering. Some of the elders in the nearby villages believe it is the spirit of a dedicated nurse, a woman so devoted to her duty that even in death, she could not bring herself to leave her patients behind. They say she still roams the halls, a lonely guardian in an empty ward, eternally tending to the souls who never left. Others, however, whisper of a different, more tragic explanation. They claim it is the restless souls of the soldiers themselves, the ones who died waiting for a doctor or a dose of medicine that never came. They are still there, trapped in a loop of time, forever waiting for a treatment, a release, that they will never receive. Today, the haunted hospital of Jalat is officially fenced off, its perimeter secured by rusting barbed wire and cautionary signs warning trespassers to keep out. But such warnings do little to deter the curious and the brave. The hospital has become a macabre pilgrimage site for a new generation of urban explorers and paranormal investigators. They sneak in, armed with cameras and ghost-hunting equipment, posting their chilling videos online. Many of them report the same strange phenomena. Their fully charged cameras and audio recorders inexplicably shut off the moment they step inside, their batteries draining in an instant, as if some unseen force within the walls doesn't want its secrets to be filmed. One recent visitor, a young man who shared his experience on a forum, wrote a harrowing account. He said, "The moment I stepped inside through a broken doorway, my chest felt incredibly heavy. It was like a physical weight was pressing down on me, and I couldn't breathe properly. Then, clear as day, I heard a disembodied voice whisper my name right next to my ear." He fled immediately, vowing never to return, convinced that the hospital is not just abandoned, but actively occupied by something that resents the living. And so, the haunted hospital of Jalat still stands, a skeletal monument to a painful past. The relentless mountain mist covers it like a shroud, and the wild, untamed forest grows around and through its broken walls, slowly reclaiming the man-made structure. It is a place where history refuses to die, where the sorrows of the past are etched into the very fabric of the present. But some nights, when the fog is particularly thick and the moon hangs pale and ghostly in the dark sky, those who dare to watch from a distance swear they can still see a single, faint light flickering in one of the upper-story windows, as if someone inside, a lonely, dedicated figure, is still working through the long, dark night.